So we have a question from the chat room from Dasuki Maui. She asks, what is your advice for creating a gaming company?
Oh, that's a good question. You need to create a game company with the best people that you know and trust. So for me, we started Altitude Games in 2014. I had no dream of starting my own company at all. Like, I'm completely fine being an employee, to be honest. But the people that I started the company with were people that I had made the first Filipino game with in 2002. So I had known them for a long time. I had worked with them in different companies. We'd actually like randomly worked in the same companies around the Philippines together. And when we decided that, you know what, let's go make our own thing, I have complete trust in them. They are also the best at what they do. So for example, I'm creative director, so I'm in charge of game design, but we have someone in the CEO in charge of business, and we have someone in charge of programming, and they're all like the best at what they do, and I have no like issues with trust or with their expertise. And I think that's really important. A lot of people will start game companies and surround themselves with the wrong people. So it's not just trust, but also they have to kind of be good at the things you're not good at, right? So it doesn't work if, well, I'm sure there are going to be companies that will prove me wrong, but like I can't imagine like 5 game designers like running a company. I feel like that would be terrible. Like you need somebody who's like, you need different
disasters.
Yeah, just you need different points of view
in the room. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've actually there are companies who start and they don't have programmers, for example, and I'm like, oh, but like I don't understand how you're gonna make it like work. So pick the best people, preferably people that you've known for a long time, who are really, really good at what they do. So it could be your friends, right? But there are a bunch of companies that just started with a bunch of friends in college. That happens too. Just when money is involved and when contracts are involved, it can get really, really sticky. So just be careful is my advice.
Luna, I noticed you didn't mention deep pockets. How important is having deep pockets?
Oh, well, I think it depends on the type of game that you want to make. So there are mobile games that, and even like indie games, there are indie like console games, PC games that are 2 or 3 people working in a basement, or 5 people working remotely. They don't necessarily have deep pockets, but they have good connections, and they're like, they do Kickstarter, for example, for their funding. Like, you could do that. For us, we went a more like startup route, so we got investment 6 years ago, and so it's actually a really like structured, like we have board meetings and all this stuff. Like it's a real company. It still makes me laugh sometimes. I'm like, what am I doing here? But there are people who don't need that. Like one of the most successful hyper casual developers in the Philippines is just one guy. He made Flippy Bottle Extreme by himself over a weekend, I think. And
that would be a dream, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so sometimes you get lucky, but I think if you are going to start a company where you're going to have employees, right? Like, so Altitude has 41 people now. You really have to think about making games as a business. So it's no longer for fun if you're supporting 41 people, all who have families and kids and things. And so you have to make the right choices on which games are we going to make? How is this game going to earn money? Which publishers do we work with, etc. And it becomes more of that and less of I just want to make my own game because I'm very indie, So it kind of, you have to choose. So long story short, the amount of money you need depends on the type of game and career you want to build.
Give us a glimpse into the business model of the game industry. How do game industry make money?
Well, there are games that are premium. So like the console games, for example, so you buy them like 60 USD or however much it is, right? And so they make money out of the units sold. And then in mobile, there is a model called free-to-play, which is what we use. So free-to-play is the games are free, and you can play as long as you want for free forever. But if you wanted to buy something, you could either pay right, to buy gems or whatever it is, or you can watch an ad, right? And I'm sure many of you, if you're playing mobile games, you have these ads that pop up, and so we make money also from ad impressions, right? Like the
Mhm.
number of times it's been seen or the number of times they've been clicked on, so we make money from that. And then there are games that are subscription, right? So subscription, like Apple Arcade, for example, you pay every month to have access to these games, or within a game like Kung Fu Clicker has subscriptions. So if you pay this amount, you get like special stuff. So you can make money from that too. And then depending on the platform that you chose and the genre that you're doing, some games are more ad heavy, some games have no ads at all. So it kind of depends. But it also depends on which country you're putting your games on. So, for example, in the Philippines, most people would rather pay by watching ads than by like using their credit card and stuff. So, ad heavy games would be better here.
Mhm.
So I don't know how it's like in Brunei, but you could also publish worldwide and not have that problem.
So what is the jackpot here? How do you win a jackpot of being in the industry? How do you score big and get into the market share of the $159 billion as we spoke about?
I think you really just need a hit game, right? So Altitude is not there yet. We're doing all right, but we're nowhere near like the giants of the mobile gaming industry.
But 95% of the companies don't hit the jackpot, do they? With
Yeah, a lot of it is for example, if you're making a licensed game, so you're making the next Pokemon game, like it doesn't matter how bad your game is,
right.
everyone's gonna get that game. You know what I mean?
Right. But for
Um,
everyone else,
yeah, and then it also matters if you're shown on the App Store. Like when you open the App Store or the Play Store, you're featured on the front page, right? Like there are thousands of games,
yeah.
tens of thousands of games, and so if you're not on the front page, you probably won't get noticed. So
How do you get to the front page though? Do you pay yourself into it or?
no, but you can apply to be featured. So we've been featured a bunch of times, and you just
Mhm.
need a really really good game or like a really good update. You need a relationship with Apple and Google, which we
Yeah.
have, and then you submit it like to be considered for a feature, and then they choose, right? They choose if they want to feature you or not, and then they choose how many countries you'll be featured in. So sometimes it's just in Asia, sometimes it's worldwide, etc. But for especially for like hyper casual games, like small games like that, if you're gonna make it and it's just really fun and it's word of mouth, everyone's playing you have a bigger chance of getting noticed.
So let's say if I'm a career seeker, uh, when I graduate from some kind of game design portfolio with my degree, what kind of money do I expect when I first start out? Is it the same as everyone else? Is it a stable kind of job, or is it a lot of insecurities?
I think it depends on the company that you're joining. So, I mean, if you're starting out as a junior game designer, a junior programmer, everything, obviously entry level salaries will be much lower than if you had experience.
Mhm.
If you are applying now, I would look for a company that has a track record. So you want a company that has made games, has been around a couple years, like a studio that's not going to disappear. So
Mhm.
that's more stable than, let's say, joining an indie company where it's just a bunch of people and they don't really pay salaries or anything. I would be very careful about joining companies that are like passion driven, like we're doing this for fun and then we'll get rich someday. That no. If you want a job, you get a job, a
Right.
paying job.